Welcome guys to Norwegian Modeling Bench. This is Kenneth and this is the 6th installment in the build series of the BB-63 USS Missouri. So today I will be tackling the navigation bridge. There are quite a few details and well, the sequence is quite important if you want to paint this up properly at least. As you can see from the video, there are quite a few details, and remember this is 1/350 scale, so there's a lot of work involved with tiny parts. So the first part is of course to take the kit parts, the plastic parts, remove a lot of the details, at least that when you're using the Pontos detail offset you need to remove and then replace with the photo etch parts. And in this regard, I would say it actually gives a lot of extra detail. There are some cases where you will find that removing the plastic details, replacing them with photo etch is not necessarily improving anything. So it's definitely something that you should take into account when going forward with such a detail upset. But in this case, removing some of these windows, replacing them with photo etch, and it is really important how you sequence this. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to install them and assemble the parts later on. So as you can see, I'm adding ladders, windows, and so on before painting up all the different parts. And this is probably not my favorite part, these rings and so on that goes around the different funnels and so on. It's quite tedious to get in place, so my game plan for these are to get some points of contact, then positioning the ring and then gluing it into place, one tag at a time, using thin CA glue. And then you have the easy part over the door, where it's just adding regular CA glue to the part and installing it. Here as well, I'm preparing the platform that goes on top before adding these girders beneath the gun tubs that are going to the side. And those gun tubs, they are a bit difficult. If you look at the instructions from Pontos, you would see that there is a gap in the lower part of the forward funnel towards the level, third level. And that is because they try to adjust this to fit those platforms. And that's something to keep in mind, because it is actually impossible to get that to fit without removing one of the steps on the gun tub. I will address this a bit later on, but these are the girders going beneath, replacing the plastic girders, which are way too thick. And as you can see, I'm using thin CA glue to bond and then fasten the different girders before attaching them to the gun tub itself. So again, using thin CA glue before attaching with regular CA glue to the underside of the gun tub. And there are some work to be done to remove those extraction pin marks in the tub itself, which you can see those are the black dots, which is then black CA glue. So I borrowed a trick there from Nigel, which works out pretty well. So using VMS black CA glue to fill those pin marks and let it dry and just sand it down actually gives quite a good result. So something to look at. And then there is this instrument panel that is going on the outside navigation bridge. And as you can see, these are quite tiny instruments that you need to fold up and glue to this photo etch part. But it gives a lot of very nice details when you are installing this later on. So I'm preparing all of these parts for paint, and then installing them in a sequence that makes sense in terms of how the parts are going to be assembled on the superstructure itself, and of course avoiding knocking things off and so on. So here I'm finished painting all of the parts up and then starting to attach the photo etch floor. Which is then of course painted in deck blue. So using CA glue for this one to get a good bond. You're not going to see the forward part that much. That's inside the navigation bridge or pilot house if you want. But otherwise, it's a very nicely detailed floor, I would say. And then you have at least one instrument that is going inside the bridge itself. And then it's this part. You should definitely add those bulkheads on the sides before attaching this one. Otherwise it will be quite difficult to get that properly in place. And also you need to shave off like 0.5 mil to the height of the bulkhead itself, because you have the photo etch floor that was just installed, which makes the height a bit different than just using the plastic kit parts. Then adding the conning tower, which I did not glue because I wanted to have a bit flexible when adding the other parts. I guess I could have glued it down, but I was a bit afraid that the alignment wouldn't be perfect and that you would then also end up scratching off the paint, which wouldn't be a good thing, right? So using Tamiya liquid cement to glue that in place before using E6000 to attach the photo etch floor for this part. Again, that gives you a bit of flexibility and work time before it settles and cures, which is about 24 hours, but it definitely it is harder to remove it after like 10 minutes, but it can be done. Using then also some thin CA glue to secure the sides before moving on to installing the windows for the conning tower. So there are some windows and doors. There's a ladder going on the back side of this that you need to install after the floor has been put down. Of course, as you can see, it wouldn't be possible to add the floor afterwards with the windows in place. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Well, this is just regular work in that sense. Using pre-painted parts, of course, otherwise it would be quite tedious to mask everything up and then paint the windows and doors and so on. So then I've added the windows for the navigation bridge. This is, well, the most important thing with that one is to get the proper alignment in front and then bending backwards and then securing with the thin CA glue along the floor that you just laid down. And then we have this instrument panel for the outside bridge, which I said quite tiny parts, but gives definitely a lot of extra details. And then you have this PE to enhance the details for the top part of the navigation bridge. adding those to those windows that was just added. And really this is a very easy part of the job. I were a bit afraid that it would be difficult to get those windows in place, but then I saw that there were actually no you didn't have to remove any plastic parts and so on, which often then causes you to have some misalignments and so on, but that was not the case here. Also, I would have liked to make some styrene windows and so on this build, but the sequence of work here made that quite difficult. So instead of just getting a half good job on that one, I elected to omit it at all. And then you have some railings and details for the lower part of the navigation bridge, which I'm adding at this point. So when I have good access to the level. So there are quite a few stairs on this ship. I have created a video by itself just explaining how I bend stairs. And I've also, as you can see, pre-painted the stair, both in haze gray and deck blue for the steps. I think that gives it a quite nice extra detail instead of just painting the entire stair in haze gray. And as you can see, I'm using a bending tool to bend the railings for the stairs, and then using a tweezer to bend the steps in the correct position. And then I at least only use regular CA glue on the top part of the stair and positioning it, and then using some thin CA glue on the bottom part, as you can see here, to make it make the bond good at least. And then you have these railings that are going on top, and these needs to be installed before you add the top part, because you have some posts or beams that are on the backside there, which is supporting the platforms that are on the part that I'm installing now. That was a good save. So again, just liquid cement on the part, installing it and letting it cure and settle for 24 hours before I started to work on this, because there are some minor adjustments that you need to do on the backside to get the fit properly. So as I mentioned before, there are some misalignments in the kit itself for this part, for the navigation bridge and how it fits towards the forward funnel. So do a lot of dry fitting, see if you get the proper fit. And then you have these gun tubs going in at this stage. I had to remove the longer posts on the underside of those tubs to get this done, and then install those posts later on. Otherwise, this would actually not be feasible without a lot of misalignments, and it wouldn't have looked good, which actually you can see some results of in the instructions from Pontos, where you have gaps all over the place, and that doesn't really look good, does it? So I went for this way of doing it. And then adding the Mark 37 gun director, which was assembled during the previous installment when I made all of them. This searchlight, by the way, doesn't really fit into that tub, so you need to do some minor tweaks to get that in place. And for this radar, you also need to make the hole in the kit part a bit bigger to get it in place. And then you have all the different instruments going on here as well, the target givers and so on, that's installed on this platform. Finally, the whip antennas, which goes on both the platform itself and on the backside of of the gun tubs, and those back on the gun tubs are definitely a bit tedious and difficult to get properly in place, but using some patience yielded a good result, I would say. So this is the end result with everything installed. So now I'm going to focus on the midship part and the after funnel in the next installment. So I managed to get at least one installment out before Christmas 2023, sorry. So I wish you all a Merry Christmas to you and your loved ones, and as always I hope that you like and give comments, and if you don't subscribe to the channel, please do. Until next time, stay safe.